Let's look at a very simple way to understand limit, right? So limit here, by English word, you must have a limit, right? You have a border. You cannot go beyond a certain thing. So that's just a simple scenario. Now, what it does is that this is how the notation looks like. So the limit as s approaches 1. So what it means is if you came with what just an amount of just let's say $1 or something of that nature, this is our law. So we just need to plug in your $1 and see what we can give you. Is that okay? So meaning that we are just exchanging. Now here you can see straightforward that if you plug in 1 here, you are going to get what 2 multiplied by 1 plus 1, that will give us what 3. So you are taking home what 3, right? So if you came with what an amount of just $1 or 1 cedi, whichever currency, then we are taking home what just $1, $3. Now in this case, look at what is happening. Now if you came with what just an amount of 0, you didn't come with nothing. This is our law. Can you see that we are having 2 x squared plus what s here, and then everything divided by what x, right? So here you can see straightforward that if you plug in 0 here, you are not taking anything home. So here if you plug in 0 here, you can see that we are going to divide by 0. So when s is equal to 0, if you came with 0, we are going to replace the s here by 0. Is that okay? So if you replace, you can see that here we are dividing by 0, which is not possible. It is not defined in math. You cannot divide anything by 0. You cannot share any amount to just 0 people. Is that okay? So this is not possible. So the importance of the limit here is that what it does, it helps us to omit this guy, take this guy away, right? So the first thing first, you must simplify this guy. So you must simplify this method here. The way of doing that, we are going to divide everything by x. So we are having 2s squared plus s divided by x. So everything here, everything on top divided by x. So this guy will cancel that, and then that one will also cancel that. So you are going to have this x will cancel one of the x here. So we are left with 2s, and then this guy will cancel that. We are left with 1. So here 2s plus 1. Is that okay? So at this point here, we can plug in the 0 that you brought. So you came with 0, right? You came with the 0. That's what the question says. So here you are having 0. Now, if you plug in our 0 here, you are going to have what 2s plus 0. So 2 multiplied by 0 and then plus 1. The answer is 1, right? So that is the important, a very simple method of a limit. So it helps us to omit that thing that we are dividing by 0 here. Is that okay? All right. Let's look at how to solve this simple example under limit based on our understanding of limit, right? So we also look at the case where someone came with an infinity, right? So this is a symbol of infinity, meaning that a very large number, let's say 99999, and so on and so forth, right? So we also look at this case and how to deal with that. Now let's have a look at these questions. So here we are giving this limit, right? They say should evaluate or find the limit here. So here we are having the limit as s approaches for -1. So what it means is assuming someone came with this -1, right? Just by an assumption. So we have to plug that into our machine. So this is the machine here to determine exactly what the person is taking home, right? So here this is the machine here. So straightforward, you need to replace the x here by -1, right? So -1 exponent 4 minus 3 -1 squared, and then minus 7 -1, and then plus 11. So if you do this calculation, you should have a straightforward answer. That is 16. So big up to that person. Okay, whoever came with a -1, so the person is taking home 16, right? So what will happen? The most important thing about the limit is here. What's happy if someone came with a certain item that is a very stubborn, or we cannot calculate the limits of that. So how can we do that? That is why we need this method here. Call it what? A limit, right? So call it a limit. So look at this next example. Now here we have a limit as this age approaches 0, right? So meaning that by assumption, let's say this guy came with nothing. So let's see what the person is taking home, or the item that the person can take away. Now here we can see straightforward. I have a very simple this thing, and that is don't accept this, right? So don't accept this, meaning that if it came with 0, then we are going to divide here by 0. If you replace everything straightforward by 0, we are going to divide by 0, which is not accepted in mathematics, right? You cannot divide anything by 0. Right, so what can we do? There's a way of doing that. That is why you have a limit here. It's okay, we can simplify. So you first of all find out whether you can do something about this. Right, so you must do something about this when you are dividing by 0. That is the key word of a limit. So here you can see that we are going to simplify. So how can we simplify? So everything here is being divided by 8. So what it means is that the 3/8 divided by 8 plus 2/8 squared divided by 8, and then plus 4/8 exponent 3 divided by 8 here. So you can see that these guys will cancel out, right? So this guy cancel out, this guy cancel, and then here we are left with just 1/8. Can you see? So and then here too you are going to left with 4/8 squared, right? So straightforward. Now since we are able to simplify this way, as at this point we can plug in the 8, right? We can plug in this value here. So the value is 0. So note something, if you are substituting for this guy, whatever is here, the limit goes away, right? The limit goes, so we are not more going to use the limit here. So here we are going to have 3 plus 2 into bracket 0. This 0 is coming from, or we are replacing that by the 8 here. So that is the 0 plus 4 multiplied by 0. So the answer is straightforward, it should be 3, right? So that the one who came with an amount of 0 or nothing is taking home this 3, right? Okay, now here's the, make sure that you watch the video whereby you have the case where someone came with a negative or maybe a infinity, as I just said earlier on. So look at the next question. So here's a nice one. I guess you should pause the video here and try that question, right? So here we are going to have this is what the limit as s approaches 2, meaning that the person came with 2 here. So straightforward here we can see that here if you replace the x here, always replace the down, right? Replace the down and see if you are going to have a 0. So if you replace it by 2, that will be 2 square minus 4, right? So that should be 4 minus 4, which is equal to 0, right? So meaning that we are going to divide by 0. It's not good, or it's not accepted in mathematics. So in that case you just have to check out whether you can manipulate this, right? So the way of doing this is you find out how can you simplify these two guys. So you can see that here we are having a quadratic, right? So that is the name of this function because the x here is being squared minus something else, right? So here we are having a quadratic divided by another term here. So here you have to simplify this guy. You solve the top by the quadratic. If you don't know how to solve this quadratic method, make sure that you comment that below, or maybe subscribe to the channel, and then you see more videos on how we can simplify this equation or expression here. So by the quadratic method we are going to arrive at 2 factors, right? So x minus 2 and then 2s plus 1. So we are just looking for the factors. So down here we split it down. This is the x square minus 4. If you split out, we are going to have s minus 2 and then s plus 2. So here you can see that this guy will cancel that guy. Can you see the s minus 2 here too? You're having s minus 2, so the two guys will cancel out. If they cancel out, you are going to left it up 2s plus 1 divided by s plus 2, right? So here you just need to check if you plug in this guy, are you going to have a 0 here? I don't think so. So down here we are going to have a 4. So as at this point we can easily plug in s is equal to 2, right? So make sure that you plug in and then give me your answer in the comment section below. Don't be afraid to make any mistake, right? So we begin learning by making mistakes here. Now let's get to the point where we have the x is equal to negative infinity, or maybe the case where x is equal to infinity, right? Okay. Now in case where x approaches infinity, right? So maybe someone came with a very large number. So this is the function, or this is the machine, that is 3s divided by s plus 2. So here this is a very large number, that has no end. So here the way of doing these things is that you cannot plug in this guy, right? You cannot plug in this guy straight. You don't know the particular number. So the first step is that we are going to divide everything here by the highest power of x. So what that thing means here is that here x, the power of the x here is 1, right? So of course if you check here is 1, and then down here is also 1. So that is the highest power of the x here. So in case maybe you're having a function that is in case you have a function like this, right? Let's say here you're having x squared plus 2s divided by s plus 3. Let's say the limit as s approaches infinity, someone comes with infinity. So you have to look up for the highest powers of the x here among all the individuals here, right? So what I mean by the individuals is this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. So the one that is carrying the highest number here is x exponent 2. So we are going to divide everything here by x exponent 2, right? Everything. What I mean by everything here. So let's get to our example to get a better understanding. So in our case here, the highest powers of the x here, so there's one, this guy, right? So you only apply this method if the person came with infinity. Now, so we are going to divide the top here by what? 3x divided by what? X here, and then down here will be x divided by x plus what? 2 divided by x. So anybody here must be divided by what? X, right? So that's the highest price of all. So here you can see that this guy cancelled out, so you are going to have 3 at the top here, and then down here remains what? 1, right? So here 1, and then we are left with this guy. Is that okay? Now, as at this point, we can plug in this guy. So we are going to plug in this guy. So how do you do that? Here we are having a number. The only problem that we are facing is it will be this guy, right? It will be this guy here. So that guy here will be 3 over what? 1 plus 0. Why this guy goes to 0 is assuming I have what? 2 here divided by 999999999 here, automatically this guy will be 0 point something, right? So this 0 point something and so on and so forth. So that is why we are saying that if you are dividing a small number by the largest number, you are going to have a 0, right? So that is the assumption behind. So here this guy tends to be 0, so here we are going to have 3 divided by 1, right? So which is exactly 3. Right? So what will happen if you have this case, right? What will happen if you have a limit where x approaches 1 over 3 x exponent 3, right? Minus 1 divided by s minus 1. So how can you do this? Here you can see straightforward. It's obvious that you are going to divide by 0, right? So if you plug in 1 here, then down here you are going to get 0. So how do you solve this problem here? The way of doing this is that you have to look up to how to manipulate these two guys, how to simplify. Right, so how are you going to simplify these two guys here? So the way of doing that here, one method is by division, right? So by division we are going to divide this guy by that. So how do you divide it? So we have this is a very simple method here by a polynomial division, right? So a long division, maybe that would be the case. So here should be what we are dividing by this guy, that's the s minus 1. So and then here is exactly what we are dividing, so x squared s exponent 3 here, right? Remember the polynomial starts from s exponent 3, meaning that we have s exponent 2 and then s exponent 1 before the constant. Is that okay? So that is one keyword you have to pay attention to. So here s exponent 3, and then those two guys are the meaning are 0 0. So because we are going to divide, let's bring the 0 0 so that we can see everything clear, right? Everything clear. So how do you divide? How do you divide here? If you don't know how to divide a polynomial, just pay close attention here. So here we are going to pick the first guy here. So this guy will go, the x here will go into this guy how many times? 2, right? So s exponent 2. That's how we got the s exponent 2 here. So the s exponent 2 multiplied by these two guys. Is that okay? Remember, you just pick the first one. So this guy, the x here will go into this guy how many times? So that will be 2, right? S exponent 2. So the s exponent 2 multiplied by 2 guys. So this guy multiplied by that will give me s exponent 3. This guy multiplied by that should be negative s squared. Is that okay? So when you are done, you subtract, right? You are going to subtract this guy from that. So if we subtract this guy from that should be 0, and then 0 minus negative 1, right? So 0 minus negative 1, that should be a positive a positive, right? So that's a positive s squared here, and then this guy is 0x, right? So 0s minus 0, that should be 0s, and then negative 1 minus 0, that should be a negative 1. Okay, now if you go to this point here, what you are going to do, the same procedure, right? So this guy here will go into the first guy how many times? That's just be x, right? So here's s squared and here's s, so this guy will go into that, there's so x here. So you use the s to multiply everything here, right? So multiply the answer that you get this answer. So if you get this answer, you subtract. Is that okay? You subtract. So this guy minus that should be 0, that minus that should be 1, right? And then this should be exactly, you arrive at s minus 1, then s minus 1 gives me 0. Now so the limit here, this guy here tends to be what? After calculating, the answer that you got at the top here is exactly what you are going to pick, right? So the limit here, this guy here, what we are giving tends to be the limit as the person brought negative 1, right? tends to be what, s squared plus what, s plus what, plus 1. So here you can see that this is a very straightforward, so we can just plug in what, s equal to what, -1, right? So s is equal to -1. You should get what, your answer to be 3. So this is how simple you solve this type of. If you have any issue on the limit, let's comment down below, right? Comment down below for your suggestions. Thank you for watching this.